you should trust in the media, you might want to trust the people that were right in January about this virus. The first to the bell among elected and appointed officials was Senator Tom Cotton. He joins me now. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning, Hugh. It's good to be on with you.
Thank you. I am curious, why did you know about this, and why did you go public early on about the virus?
So, Hugh, I'm not a scientist or doctor, certainly not an epidemiologist, but I saw two things from China about mid-January that told me this virus posed a grave threat. On the one hand, all of the happy talk from the Chinese Communist Party and all the lies they were telling the world and the WHO, that they had it under control and it couldn't be transmitted from person to person, and so on and so forth. And that contrasted with the extreme draconian measures they were taking, locking down an entire city, the size actually larger than New York City, locking people in their apartment building, literally welding the door shut or hammering boards across the doors and the other outlets. So those two contrasts told me that something was up. And all that came from public information, Hugh, a lot of perhaps obscure or esoteric sources from the East Asian news media or medical sources. And for that, I have to credit John Ellis, longtime Fox News executive and election desk analyst and just all-around media impresario. He has a morning newsletter called News Items that I would encourage all of your listeners to subscribe to if you don't. John does a very good job of collating news from all around the world, more than just political news of what's happening out in the real world. And that's what first brought to my attention some of these sources from East Asia and the medical press about the severity of this virus.
Now, within the administration, Robert O'Brien, Matt Pottinger, and today's story, Peter Navarro, joined you in sounding the alarm. It was not widely agreed upon within the administration that this was a problem. What held back some elements of the administration?
Yeah, I can tell you, Hugh, that during the impeachment trial, which began the Thursday before Martin Luther King Day weekend, I stepped down of the trial to repeatedly take phone calls, especially from Robert O'Brien and Matt Pottinger. Matt in particular, Matt speaks Mandarin and was a journalist in for the Wall Street Journal in China before he became a Marine. So he has particular expertise in these matters. And we worked together on a number of fronts. Eric Ueland, I also credit. Eric is the legislative affairs director at the White House, and Eric was on the Senate floor every day in January for the impeachment trial. So we spoke repeatedly about necessary steps to take, most importantly, the grounding of air travel from China. I think, Hugh, as you still see today, when you're talking about measures to mitigate the spread, many people in the administration were understandably concerned about the economic impact of stopping travel from China. I mean, given the economic catastrophe we're facing because of this virus, it now seems a quaint concern, but it's understandable, and it's repeated time and time again in these public health emergencies that people worry about other concerns up front before they realize just how bad the virus can become. But I think the president, to his credit, ultimately overrode the advice of some of his economic and even his public health advisors and sided with his more security-focused advisors in shutting down travel from China. That really bought us a number of weeks.
Is there any doubt in your mind that impeachment obscured the virus's spread and stymied the American response?
Well, I don't think there's any doubt, Hugh, and no fair-minded person could doubt that it certainly took attention away in official Washington, whether it's the Congress, the administration, the media, what have you, of what could have been an earlier warning. Everyone in January was obsessed with the impeachment trial. I talked to some of my Senate colleagues about this virus during the trial, and while they seemed curious and a little bit concerned, then they were back to drafting what questions they were going to submit to the president's lawyers or to the impeachment managers. It's hard to know in retrospect whether we could have taken steps that would have altered the course of the outbreak had we not been in an impeachment trial, but there's no doubt, of course, Hugh, that it distracted attention in official Washington away from this growing outbreak in China.
Senator Cotton, you did a lot of media. I have been replaying my show's coverage of the virus in the last 2 weeks of January. I've got a complete record of what I did. Do you recall anybody on broadcast news, cable or network, who covered the virus accurately and thoroughly in the second half of January?
Only Hugh Hewitt.
I mean broadcast television. I was canceled by then. I was.
No, Hugh, I don't offhand. I'll admit to you, I don't watch a lot of broadcast television, though. But no, I don't remember in late January and early February much conversation about this virus. If I recall, attention was focused almost exclusively on impeachment, and what little room left was dedicated to the Democratic presidential primary.
I think you're right, and I believe the debates that were hosted during that time, they glancingly referred to the virus. It is nobody's fault, but I don't want broadcast history rewritten. I don't want political history rewritten. I don't want the memory hole to open up and swallow up what was a massive failure on the part of the media. Tom Cotton did his best to sound the alarm. Some of us listened. Thank you, Senator Cotton. Hour number 3 of a special edition of the Hugh Hewitt Show continues on this April 7th. More than 10,000 Americans have died. If you believe the Chinese numbers, we're over 75,000 worldwide. I don't believe those numbers. I don't believe the Iranian numbers either, but that's the minimum. More coming up. Hour number 3 of the Hugh Hewitt Show straight ahead.